money transfer, and IT consortium. All your technology, IT work here in the UK, in Ghana, they are good and they can help you to deliver businesses and other initiatives. Before we go to the program, I would like to say that this event is put together by Ghana Union UK and Ghana Nurses Association UK, the Western Regional Association of Nurses UK, and the Nightingale Nurses Association UK. The program is supported by World Remit, as I said earlier, IT Consortium, and the Ghana High Commission UK. As always, we'll have a few rules. Please, as if you want to be part of us throughout the session, we may ask that you mute yourself, and obviously, when it's time to Q&A, you will be allowed to unmute yourself at a time. Where possible, please say your name and show your face so we can know who we are talking or engaging with in the course of the question and answer session. And please use the Zoom chat icon to raise your hand so we can call you for your questions to be answered. As audience, you will have the right to share your screen under any circumstance, and please go straight to the questions and go to the point. One question at a time where possible, and we can come back to you if there is more, so that others can also have time to do so. And so tonight, I will have the special honor to introduce to you a man who, throughout this time, has lived to his expectation in the field that he has become very conversant with. He's a Ghanaian barrister and a solicitor to the Supreme Court of England and Wales. He qualified as a barrister in Ghana and obviously works here and has a firm here, which most of our Ghanaian community, I believe, will be aware of. He's been practicing as a lawyer in England since August 1992. His practice over the years have spanned from criminal law, civil litigation, family and children, including proceedings and matrimonial, as well as finance. He's now specialized in family law and immigration and asylum law, including appeals and judicial reviews as well. As a result of his distinguished work and specialization, he holds 2 Law Society quality marks, family and immigration. The truth about these marks are that the Law Society quality marks can help you to find legal advice quickly and confidently. These accreditations award are quality marks to legal practitioners and individuals who meet the highest standards of technical expertise and client service in specific areas of law. So, as I said earlier, in areas of immigration and asylum law and all the other things that comes with it, judicial review and all that, you couldn't have any better person than that because he's got those marks. When you see the Law Society Quality Marks logo, you will know that the technical legal skills and the client service standard have been rigorously and independently tested by the Law Society. Since 2006, he has run his own high street practice, BWF Solicitors in North London. For those who have been there before, you will know it's right at the Seven Sisters station. So please take note of that. Right at the Seven Sisters station, served on Victoria Tube lines. You wouldn't have to struggle to get there at all. Since 1992, he has trained several lawyers and caseworkers, some of whom have gone to set up their own practice or been appointed as partners in other firms. He is also a property investor in Ghana and in UK, and with his experience in the property investment, he can advise on all aspects of property purchase in Ghana, and of course, I'm sure here as well. Apart from his professional area, he volunteers his time promoting several Ghanaian community initiatives and currently holds the chairmanship of the UK Steering Committee of the Ghana Homecoming Summit, UK. Audience, I have the single honor and pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Bernard Owusu, who is a senior partner of the BWF Solicitors. Bernard, good evening. It's nice to have you. And I'm sure tonight your knowledge and wisdom and experience in your field will do our people good. And I'm sure audience are here, obviously, to hear from you. So please take over and do us good.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Emmanuel. That's very kind of you. All the nice things that you've said about me, I am very grateful. And I'm also very grateful to the Ghana Union and its associated groups for inviting me this evening to share with you, a subject which is very dear to my heart, which is children, and also to help those couples who may be struggling to have their own children, either through conception or adoption. So our topic is twofold, as the issue of surrogacy and also adoption. And they both relate to children. Children, we say, are the gifts of God. And if you're blessed with one, you understand how lovely it can be. But we cannot discount the fact that there are couples who, for one reason or another, may be struggling to have their own children. And yet they desire to have children or bring up children and give their children, loving and warm homes so that they can grow and be stimulated to be good citizens of this country or Ghana. Now, the surrogacy rules, as you know, has been with us for a while, but it's only recently that has become very public because of some negativities associated with it and also some positivities which has been associated with it. So first of all, what is surrogacy? Well, if somebody asks you surrogacy, it's in two parts. It's a biological aspect and also the legal aspect. But the legal aspect, it's a process where a woman is asked and she gives consent to carry a child for a couple and hand over the child to the couple once the child has been born. So the surrogacy itself, it's an arrangement between a woman and a couple, and where the arrangement is such that the woman will carry their child or a child for them, and at the birth of the child, she hands over the child to the commissioning couple. So first of all, it's a woman who will be carrying the child. And there may be two processes to this conception. It may be that a couple may have a genetic connection to the child, or it may be that they may not have genetic connection to the child. It may also be that the surrogate mother may have genetic connection to the child, or she may not have. But under the English law, the mother of the child, of any child at all, is a woman who gives birth to the child. So although this woman may not have genetic connection to the child, under English law, she will be classified and considered as the mother of the child. And I will show you the process that you can go through to make the child your own. So first of all, there's a law in the UK, which is a 2005 Human Embryology and Fertilization Act. And Section 45 makes very clear the arrangement that can be put in place. First of all, remember that this is a contract. It's like any contract which will involve two parties, the surrogate mother and the commissioning couple. And therefore, it's advisable that before you take this step, you take legal advice. Legal advice because both parties must take voluntary advice and have in-depth understanding of the process involved. Because if you don't, it may unfortunately bring very negative connotations to the parties when the child has been born, and at the handing over stage may prove difficult. We've all heard and seen various stories in the news media about people not wanting to hand over children and therefore becomes very problematic. So the advice I will give from the inception is that before you contemplate this arrangement, seek legal advice. Make sure that both parties understand their obligation. There might be a financial obligation, not a commercial obligation. And I say financial obligation because the surrogate mother is going to be inconvenienced in a way so as to, incur costs. It may be that she may have to stop working, depending on how the pregnancy goes. It may be that she stops working very early. It may be she stops working late in the pregnancy. The law allows expenses to be paid or reasonable cost to be paid. There's a case law, which is a California couple who have commissioned a surrogate mother here to bear a child for them. Couple here commissioned in California. And when the arrangements were made, I think the cost involved was about $53,000. And because you have to make an application for parental order for the UK, the English court to recognize the particular arrangement, the court can scrutinize the arrangement or the contract. And therefore, if there is anything untoward, they may refuse to grant you that parental order, which means that you cannot have the child. I say it's a contract, and the terms of the contract is important to both parties. Make sure that a surrogate mother gets independent advice, not from the same lawyer that is advising you, from an independent source. So I will give a typical scenario. A man and a woman here, been married for 15 years, unable to have a child, done 5 IVF treatments in the UK, all unsuccessful. And it's finally medically certified that the woman is unable to conceive on her own. So an approach is made to a fit, proper, and willing woman who is prepared to carry the baby, and she accepts this. Now, once the arrangement has been reached, it's then handed over to lawyers. The lawyers will draft an agreement, 2 agreements. One is a consent. Ghana will be an affidavit of consent. And then this is signed by both parties, where the surrogate mother agrees that she will hand over the child. And then the commissioning couple also agree that they will pay certain cost to the woman. Now, I use the word cost, and I use the word reasonable cost, and I use the word expenses. There should be no commercial aspect in this whole arrangement, because the court will not approve the parental order if they find out that this whole thing is a commercial arrangement. We are very lucky that October last year, Ghana has signed a new law, which is the Birth and Death Registration Act, I think it's 1027, which recognizes certain aspects of surrogacy. And in the act, a couple can apply for what we call a pre-parental order in court for a child who is yet unborn to be recognized as their child. Now, the application must be made forthwith in any event within weeks of the conception or the fertilization of the woman. Without that order, please listen carefully. Without that pre-parental order, which came into force in October 2020, it doesn't matter what arrangement you've reached with the surrogate mother, you will not become the mother or the father of the child, and the Ghanaian court will not recognize it. So 2 things: have in place a voluntarily in-depth contract between you and the surrogate mother, and then the commissioning couple. Also, once the act has happened, and there might be a gamete fertilization or sperm insemination, whichever way it is, it's a bit scientific and biological. The gamete is clearly a fertilized egg, which is put in the woman's womb. And obviously, that will be that the woman will not have genetic connection. So that will be the most popular way of doing surrogacy. There might also be artificial insemination or sperm insemination or fertilization, which is using the surrogate's mother egg and then the sperm of the commissioning father. That is also possible. The traditional way is the first one, and the commissioning couple will have genetic connection. The other way, the gestation type, is the one that they don't have any genetic connection, but both are recognized. And please make sure that you keep in touch with the surrogate mother. You are aware that she's going for antenatal appointments. Ensure that she's got enough food, she's got enough warmth, she's got enough clothing, she's taking her medication or vitamins if that's what she ought to take, and be involved in the woman's life. Because unfortunately, if you disappear just after the contract is signed and you turn up when the child is being born, then it doesn't feel normal. Whereas if your wife were to be pregnant, you will be involved all steps of the way. You are also encouraged to be involved in the way. Just be mindful that if you're looking at inter-country transfer of the child to the UK, you must abide by the laws of the United Kingdom. And the laws of the United Kingdom are very, very specific. I'm happy to say that so far the practices I've seen in Ghana mirrors that of the English practices. And it means that when you bring the child to England, you do not have difficulties in bringing the child. Now, the other issue that I need to address is, do you want to bring the child here or do you want to leave the child in Ghana? Clearly, I think most couples will want to bring their child here. And if that's what you want to do, then the nationality and the immigration status of the child also becomes very important. Under the UK rules, as I've stated, the mother that gives birth to the child is always the mother. The father is the father who either is genetically connected to the child or married to the surrogate mother. So that when you're commissioning a surrogacy, just be mindful that if the surrogate mother is married and her husband, you do not have evidence that her husband has declined consent to the conception, then her husband will be considered as a father of the child, although he's not biologically connected to the child. So just be mindful that these are things that you want to know before you do the full commissioning. Under the English law, if you want to bring the child here, the child may either be a British citizen or may have the status that you have, which is that if you're settled, the child will have a settlement status, but you need to make an application under the immigration rules. And if you have limited leave to remain and you're habitually resident here, you can still bring the child, which means that the child will also have limited leave to remain. How does the child become a British citizen? The child becomes a British citizen if the commissioning father is genetically linked to the child, and at the birth of the child, the mother of the child is not married to another man. Then under Section 50A of the British Nationality Act, the child becomes a British citizen automatically, if the father is not a British citizen, otherwise by descent. I don't want to sound a bit technical, but there are differences between British citizenship. Some can be passed on to children born outside the UK, and some cannot be passed on. If you are a British citizen by descent, you cannot pass your British citizenship to your child who is born outside the UK automatically. If you're a British citizen, otherwise by descent, you can pass your British citizenship automatically. The difference is that the British nationality prevents multiple transfers of British citizenship. So if you acquire your British citizenship in the UK through birth, then it is likely that you're a British citizen by descent. and therefore you cannot pass your citizenship to a child born to you outside the UK. But if you acquire your British citizenship by registration or naturalization under the British Nationality Act, then you're not a British citizen by descent. You're a British citizen otherwise done by descent. Now, once you follow the steps, conception, child is born, you've made an application to the Ghanaian court, very, very important, for a parental order, and it's done at the High Court. It may be any of the high courts in Ghana, any of the regional high courts. The recent one we've done is the Tema High Court. The judge will then review the agreement between you and the surrogate mother. The judge will have to be satisfied that you are capable of looking after the child and that this transfer is done voluntarily, and that the person who is a surrogate mother, who is for all intents and purposes giving away her child, one, understood what she was doing, and two, she received independent legal advice, and that she's transferring the child to you voluntarily. These are requirements that the courts will look at. Once this is done, and since 2020, October, you've done your pre-parental order, your name will be registered as a parent of the child, both couples, so the husband and the wife, although the wife may not genetically be linked to the child. She will be registered as a mother of the child, and then the father will be registered as a father of the child. Even if you were to come to the UK to make the same application, you will not be recognized as parents of the child until you've done the parentage order, the parental order in the UK for the court to grant you a parenthood, which gives you parental responsibility. Once you acquire parental responsibility, the commissioning couple now have absolute custody of the child. The surrogate mother does not have parental responsibility. In fact, she would have severed all relationship with the child. The child is no longer her child. The child belongs to the commissioning couple. And it is therefore important that these are terms of the agreement which is explained to the surrogate mother before the process starts. I put a lot of emphasis on independent legal advice and voluntary transfer of parental responsibility. Because if this is not done, you will either have problems in Ghana courts or you have problems in the UK. And once that this process has been completed, the birth certificate has been done, you can then apply for a British passport for your child or apply under the immigration rules for your child to be admitted to the UK with settlement under the immigration rules. Now, that is a summary of surrogacy. I will move on now to adoption process. The adoption process, as we all know, it's a legal procedure for a person or a couple to apply to court and have a child given to them by the court and assume parentage of the child from the date of the adoption order. And to do that, if you're habitually resident in the UK, you need to start your process in the UK. You first of all approach an independent adoption agency. Before, it used to be the local authority. These days, they don't really want to do this work. So you will have to pay to go through an adoption agency or an independent social worker who is affiliated to adoption agency. They would then prepare what we call a home study report. The home study report, it's a document which will look at comprehensively at your background, your medicals, your home circumstance, your financials, your criminal background, and any health conditions. Once they are satisfied that you are competent to adopt a child, you would then proceed to make an application from the Department of Education, the relevant authority, to grant you an eligibility certificate, which is about £1,950. The home study report will cost anything between 3,000 to up to 5,000. I've seen a home study report which is cost more than that. Once the home study report is prepared and you've obtained your eligibility certificate, it means that you've been approved for the adoption to go ahead. Just remember that before you undertake any of this process, you would have identified a child in Ghana who invariably may be an orphan or listed with an orphanage or a charity, or it may be a relative. The Ghanaian law has age requirement and marital requirement. Yes, a single person may adopt a relative, but a single person may not adopt someone who is non-related to them. And therefore, if you want to adopt a relative and you're a single person, you can. But if you want to adopt someone who is not related to you, you must be a couple. The age difference between the couple and the child should be a minimum of 21 years. The age of the couple must be at least 25 years. These are requirements that you ought to comply with. Once the child is identified, you've done a home study here, you've done your eligibility certificate. The Department of Education will then transfer, they are called the relevant authority. They will transfer the certificate and all the documents to the Ghanaian authorities. Your process will then start in Ghana through a lawyer who will complete a form. They will require your citizenship and identity. They will also require further evidence about your health and your financial means. They also want to see you so that they can educate you. They call it adoption education. You then go through an adoption education. If you are in Ghana, they will do that for 30 days. They can do that remotely. But please, don't adopt a child that you've not met. And in fact, the court will frown upon it if you haven't met the child, because there's a requirement that you must start to bond with the child before the adoption process is done. The whole process might take anything between 6 and 12 months. Because from the initial identification of the child, assessment by yourself in Ghana and the UK, and then obtaining the eligibility certificate and the home study report, and then filing the application in court will take about 6 to 12 months, more like 12 months, because sometimes the court process can take time. Again, once you've adopted a child under Ghanaian law, the child becomes yours. Just remember that in every adoption, because Ghana is now a Hague country since 2017, you are required to obtain parental consent of voluntary transfer of parental responsibility to you. But in most cases in Ghana, these children will not have parents or their parents are unknown. And therefore, the court must be satisfied that it is in the best interest of the child for the adoption to be granted. It is therefore proper that where parents of the children or the child has been identified, you engage the parents through your lawyers so that they understand that once they give voluntary transfer of parentage to you, they will have no legal authority over that child again. In both instances, both surrogacy and the adoption, you obtain a birth certificate with your name and your wife's name, or your name and your husband's name. You then become parents under Ghanaian law, and you become parents under English law. You can then transfer your nationality to the child if you're British, or you can apply for the child under the immigration rules for the child to join you in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, this is as simple as I can explain, but the intricacies of both concepts is too detailed for us to spend just 2 hours on. And it is therefore important that the caveat I give everyone is that don't take this step without seeking legal advice. And also be mindful that if it is an inter-country process, You need legal advice in the UK, and you need legal advice in Ghana. If you're lucky to have someone who's dual qualified, who practices both in UK and Ghana, they can advise you. But there's a lot of legwork involved, and you need somebody who is physically based in Ghana or has a practice in Ghana who can help you. So, Emmanuel, this will be my initial remarks and comments. And if somebody wants me to give clarification, they are welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Usu, Mr. Bernard Usu. We were hoping you would touch a bit on fostering as an area before we open the lines for Q&As, if that is something you can.
Well, that's fine. I mean, my focus was on having a child to be your child. Okay. Now, fostering, as the name suggests, is you standing instead of a caregiver. So if a caregiver fails, it may be for reasons of mental health issues, it may be for child protection issues, it may be for private arrangement between you and the parents. But my focus will be on fostering, which is coming through an approved source, either through the local authority or by some other means, because then you can also get the financial support that you need. So for you to become a foster care or carer, you need to be assessed, and the process is similar to going through adoption, although you don't do the eligibility certificate. The Department of Education and the ministries will therefore, and the local authority will be interested in your life. They will visit your home, they will assess you, they will look at the relevant people in your life, they will look at your medicals, they will look at your history with children, they will look whether you've parented a child before, and they will look at your accommodation and resources. And once they are satisfied that you can be a foster parent or a foster carer, they will then certify you and give you a fostering certificate. Once you are a recognized foster carer, the local authority will then work with you. They can place children with you temporary or permanent placement. I say permanent placement because when a child is going through the full rigors of the child protection procedures, it be it EPO or emergency protection order, interim care order, or full care order, it's always the case that a child is placed with a foster carer. I've seen foster carers who've adopted children. So the fostering may then become a permanent placement leading to adoption. But for want of a better word, as a foster parent, you stand instead of a caregiver who has failed to give care because of matters which are not within their own doing or matters which falls within the protection under the Children Act of 1989, which is basically that the child is being protected because the child has faced significant harm. And the significant harm was because of the care given by the caregiver or the likely care to be given by the caregiver. And these are matters that, again, you must be conscious of the fact that because you're going to bring up a child, your life history will be assessed and you have questions asked and forms to complete. This is the process. And if you're doing a local authority fostering, then of course it comes with payment. I left out the payment because there are private arrangements with fostering where it does not involve payments for looking after the child. But the local authority fostering, again, is an avenue for people to give permanency to children who are coming from disturbed homes or may have suffered because their parents may be suffering from mental health issues.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bernardo. So we will take a few minutes. You need to get some drink, get something to cool down the good thing that has come out, so that I'm sure questions will be flowing, certainly, and we will come back.
Yeah, fair ma, London. Ya jiabasobodie bebre. Ni ya redare ewo mransemu. Legal services, be to say family law, matrimonial law, immigration, dispute resolution, Ghanaian customary, any family law. What BWF dear, yen solicitors edi enijie ene twitwaje wo na yebo nso nya den kra. Yen partner penin pa Bernardo Wusu aye lawyer ewo UK memu bebru mfie duonu nkron 29 years. BWF Solicitors kura won ho. Inti se ba na ebusuansem bi te se child care, eya abofra hwemu, awaregya ye ho twuma mentwe. Ene ohye ana injunction ye de to domestic violence so a, ye ma legal assistance ya edimu na ye adwuma nso. Yen child care, any family team no nim nia wo famu ewe ne ya wo brei mu. Enu nti ne yeto ye mbo asema wafutu a esefata ewo kokoa mu. Yen senior partner obi a Law Society Family Law Accreditation Panel agina tumu na osanso ye member na kyerese eba no se ye gina wachi etwitwaje ewo family any matrimonial cases ho a wonni haw kra. Wope advice ewo immigration sensem ho. Wo BWF Solicitors dear, ye immigration team no avidare ewo general immigration ho nsemsem, kosi complex immigration, work permit, student visa ho totoye, any entry clearance visas, family visas, ni appeals. Yen senior partner a member na wasagina tum ewo Law Society Immigration Accreditation Panel. Inti se taiwachi a wonni haw kra. Ye bie an office free juada ekosi fiada anopa non krompe mu ekosi enumre nunsia eye 9:30 a.m. kosi 6 p.m.
Probably we're aware of, and I'm sure I've seen a few questions in the chat room already. We've gone through areas around surrogacy, adoption, and fostering. This program, as I said earlier, is brought to you by courtesy of Ghana Union in partnership with Ghana Nurses Association, the Western Region Nurses Association UK, the Nightingale Nurses Association UK, and obviously supported and endorsed by the Ghana High Commission and Omega Life supporting as well. Tonight, we've gone through a few things. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. This is the time to raise your hand with the Zoom icon and pose your question. Also, you can put your question on the chat room and we will call them accordingly. So please, we are waiting for you to be ready for the questions. But Mr. Bernard Owusu, thank you so much. This is a lovely presentation so far. I'm just a lot of questions are going through my mind as a person, but I'm gonna go to the audience as well. Someone is putting in the chat room, why can't a single person adopt from outside the family?
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, that is the rules of the Ghanaian community. The problem with that, as we all know, is Ghana is a very, very conservative and traditional country. And therefore, Ghana believes in the promotion of marriage. And that is why that if you want to adopt outside your family, then it has to be a couple who can adopt. But if you want to adopt as a single person, then you can adopt within your family or relatives, and that is allowed.
Okay, thank you so much. I've received a message here on my phone. Somebody is saying, Mr. Owusu, I need you to clarify this. You mentioned two differences of British nationality by descent and not by descent. I've been married for 15 years and there was no child. There hasn't been any child. And I went to Ghana last year and I had a bit of a quick play and I have a child, a baby, beautiful girl. I'm a British citizen, wasn't born here, but I'm a British citizen. What does this descent and not descent mean to my beautiful daughter?
Okay, well, I'm not sure the sex of this person, whether it's a male or a female, because sometimes depending on the time.
It's a male. His name, okay. I mean, I don't mention his name.
Since July 2006, if you had a child outside marriage and outside this country, the child, and you're a British citizen, the child is a British citizen. Because you were not born here, you are definitely not British citizen by descent. You are a British citizen otherwise by descent. Descent means you acquire your citizenship through your parents. So our children's children will be British citizen by descent. It's usually one removed from the parent who was born here. So if a British person who was born here had a child outside Ghana, that child is a British citizen, either by descent. And that child's child, if born outside Ghana, will not acquire British citizenship. So in the case that you've given, the child will be British citizen if at the time of the child's birth, the father of the child, whether married or married to the woman, is a British citizen. Just be mindful that if the woman that you had a child with is married to another person at the time of birth, then our nationality law defines the father of the child as a husband of the mother. So just be sure that the woman was not married at the time you had a child with her.
So he's listening very loud. Right, okay. So I will have a few questions which I'm going to go through. These are questions we receive in advance. Can I also remind you all, please, that this program is live streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and it's also live on BWF TV. So there are audiences watching it around the world on all these platforms. Thank you so much. I have some questions here. One, are the laws on surrogacy, fostering, and adoption in Ghana different? I mean, I know you've gone through a few of them. What does the law actually say? Let's say, for instance, if somebody wants to go through surrogacy, is there anything that prevents? Do they have to be in a specific situation here to be able to do that? Let's say, for instance, you have a limited leave to remain. Does that also stop? Does it restrict you in any way? Or do you have to be a fully resident here before you can go through the process to get there? Does Ghana law restrict anyone who hasn't lived there for a certain number of years not to be able to do that? Or how does it work? So for instance, if I'm here and I haven't been living in Ghana for the past 10, 15 years, is there any law there that says because you are not normally here, you can't do it? Or, I think that is what the question is about.
Okay, so first of all, there's a legal concept called habitual residence. Now, that is not, for our purpose, that is not very relevant now if you want to bring the child here. What is relevant is nationality of the person who's adopting. So for example, if you want to adopt a child in Ghana and you're a foreigner, you are allowed to do that. You are allowed to. You don't have to be a Ghanaian to adopt a child in Ghana. Many foreigners have adopted children from the orphanages in Ghana. However, just be mindful that you are dealing with two countries. So the Ghanaian law, thank God, that since 2017 has adopted the international law of adoption, which is what we call the Hague Convention in relation to the protection of children. And every country that is a signatory to that part of the Hague Convention, your adoption is accepted as internationally recognized. And therefore, you must do the things that is internationally recognized. You must follow due process. You must make sure that the parents of the children have given voluntary consent in giving up their children, or they cannot be located, or they are incapable of giving consent, or they are deceased. The Hague Convention is very specific on parental consent when it comes to adoption. Ghanaian law per se doesn't have surrogacy rules. I know that the medical fraternity, especially the gynecologists, those in fertility or assisted childbirth, are now pushing to have a full-blown assisted fertilization and childbirth law and surrogacy law. However, the new law recognizes an unborn child being the child of a commissioning couple. So in that regard, it seems that the Ghanaian law, although not explicitly, implicitly accepts surrogacy. And it has accepted surrogacy because we've seen that I'm dealing with cases going back to 2012, which is about 9 years now. And there has been surrogacy agreements between people who live here and who live in Ghana, because our courts have approved it. just bear in mind that there is no internationally accepted standard of surrogacy. There's none. And also just bear in mind that surrogacy agreements per se are not legally enforceable. Just bear that in mind. I said they're not legally enforceable doesn't mean that if you go to court to say that this is what we've signed, the court will say, well, we cannot enforce it, so just let it be. The courts will always look at the welfare principle of the child, which is the primary responsibility of the court to look at what is in the best interest of the child. So although your agreement may have some commercial connotation, or that there is an aspect of the agreement which frowns upon public policy, because the courts in England will check if you are making the application here for a parental order. Yet the courts will always, the case of Henry L., which is a California surrogacy case, which was accepted here, that although the cost involved was a bit high, it fits the definition of reasonable cost within the Human Fertilization and Embryology Act. And therefore, it was accepted as reasonable. So everything you do, just be mindful that the Ghanaian law, which is the 2020 Act, has some elements in it which seems to accept surrogacy. But you need to take certain actions within certain limited period before the child will be recognized as your child. In the same way, the English law, and I put emphasis on English, I hope people are paying attention. Our laws and the Scottish laws are different when it comes to children. And in certain regard, Wales is a bit different, but normally it's England and Wales law that we refer to. So the surrogacy rules are not internationally recognized. So everything you do about surrogacy is not like adoption, where we have the Hague Convention, which is internationally recognized. You need to be very careful that whatever you're doing is acceptable and legal in the UK if you want to bring the child here, and acceptable and legal in the country, which is where the surrogacy is taking place.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bernard, I have a request here. Emmanuel, this has been a very, very insightful session. Many thanks to all involved, especially Bernard. Could you please ask Bernard to go over the age limit for adoption again, please?
Okay.
So this is a direct request on chat.
Okay. So first of all, the age limit is 25 years. That's the minimum age, unless you're adopting from your family where it's dropped to 21. Also, the age between you and the child, the age difference should be 21 years. So although the minimum age is 25, if you're adopting from your family, your age can drop to 21. The second test is that between you and the child, the age difference should be 21. That doesn't apply to people who are adopting from their families.
Right. I know we are not dealing with immigration as a topic here, but it's part of it. Somebody is also asking, my family member passed and left 2 young children. Can I, in my, British status, adopt them, or can I use my status to cover them to enter here while I care for them? Because as it stands now, I'm the one caring for them, even though I don't live there.
Well, first of all, yes, you can adopt them if they are under 18 years of age. You can file the process. It will be a family adoption. The process could be expedited. You need to go through, because you live here and you're a British citizen, you need to go through the UK process first. And once you're cleared, you then do the Ghanaian one. You also must be mindful that once you adopt the children, you say that mother has died, but I'm not sure where the father is. The father will have to give consent. If both parents are passed, sometimes there is something called customary adoption, where you've been given the children by your family. It means that you've been given consent, and that itself the courts will recognize as proper consent, and they will grant the adoption. But you still have to go through what everyone goes through, which is basically do a home study report here, have an eligibility certificate, go to Ghana, go through social services with your lawyer, and then once the approval is done, then you go through your court application, which could take anything from weeks to months.
Right.
Yes. So the only other way that you can bring them, if the children's living condition in Ghana, that is if you don't adopt them, if their living condition in Ghana is so dire that if they are not allowed to come here, it will be detrimental to both their health and their well-being. Or alternatively, you can make an application for a parentage order in Ghana, which is quicker, less expensive, and it will be accepted by both the UK immigration and also the Ghanaian authorities, that a parentage will then have been transferred to you.
Right. Thank you so much. Can I also reiterate that please raise your hand using the Zoom icon so that you can actually ask your questions directly. Bernard is here to answer all your questions. I have another chat room question saying, if you have indefinite leave to remain but mainly live in Ghana, are you able to grant any of your ILR rights to children born in Ghana, please?
Okay, so ILR, what it means is that indefinite leave to remain or permanent residence, or your time here is unlimited. Just be mindful that if you acquired your indefinite leave to remain under the immigration rules, specifically immigration rules, and not under the EU SS or Appendix EU, which is the European route, you can only live outside Ghana for a maximum of 2 years. If your indefinite leave was acquired under Appendix EU, which is through the EU route, then you can live up to 5 years and you will not lose your residency. So that's the caveat. If you have indefinite leave to remain, it means you're either still Ghanaian or another nationality other than a British nationality. And therefore, if you have a child outside the UK, your child will have your nationality, which is the Ghanaian nationality. It follows that you need to make an application for your child to come and live here with you permanently. The only time that your child can acquire British citizenship if you have indefinite leave to remain is if the child was born in the United Kingdom.
Right. Okay. That's very clear. Thank you very much. I have one more question, then we'll take a second break, and then we'll come back to more questions. Can you arrange to bring a child from Ghana to foster here in the UK? That's another question that came in earlier by email. Is it possible to foster somebody by getting the person to come here, or how does it work?
Okay, well, so by fostering, you're temporary standing instead of the caregiver, and because the child is not a British citizen or settled here, you need to go through immigration requirements. So although it's a novel idea, the immigration rules doesn't make provision for people who are fostering to bring the children here, unless, of course, you've got a court order recognizing you as a parent, which is either adoption or a parentage order.
Thank you. We'll take a second break. We want to give you more time to get some drink, and then we'll come back.
Thank you.
BWF Solicitors is a leading and an award-winning solicitor situated in London. Our expertise in family and matrimonial law encompasses divorce, separation, children matters, family breakdown, and financial orders. We focus on all aspects of immigration law. Our areas of expertise extends to visas for individuals and businesses. These include spouses, students, visitors, EU applications, investors, and more. We also undertake appeals and judicial reviews of negative decisions. We hold Law Society Quality Mark in immigration law. Our family law solicitors are dedicated to finding the most effective and pain-free resolution for our clients through the provision of sensitive, effective, and affordable legal advice. We are also Ghanaian law specialists and have advised many local authorities and other solicitors on aspects of Ghanaian law. We have also advised businesses looking to relocate to Ghana. Our senior partner is dual qualified as a barrister at law in Ghana and solicitor to the Superior Court of England.
This program is put together with the support of Ghana Union, UK, the Ghana Nurses Association, UK, the Western Region Association of Nurses, UK, and the Nightingale Ghanaian Nurses Association, UK. It is supported by Ghana High Commission, UK, and Omega Live TV. And also we are live on BWTV Live as we speak, on Facebook, on YouTube. And so we have a wider audience following us throughout the program. We have Bernard here, who is attending to a lot of our questions tonight. He's giving us areas around surrogacy, adoption, and fostering. And we are now on Q&A. Can I ask that you raise your hands using the Zoom icon so that your questions can be addressed as we go along? Bernard, I have another question that came in earlier today. It's saying, what are the ongoing challenges of surrogacy, adoption, and fostering? I don't know what the person meant by that. What are ongoing challenges? Is there any challenges that we have that you can share with us in terms of those who have come to you, share their experience? Either they have gone through the system and the system is not helping them, or it's lengthy, or is there any sort of challenges that you have from your experience that you think we should be aware of?
Yes, of course. As with everything, there are challenges. I'm sure that even without blinking, you can go online, watch TV, and you see couples complaining that they can't get to adopt their race in the UK. So you usually will have Black people wanting to adopt, and they don't get to adopt Black people. Or you have mixed race wanting to adopt mixed race, and they don't get to adopt. So those are issues. And that is why these days people prefer to go outside the UK. There are destinations whose adoption is banned in the UK. Nigeria is one. Ghana used to be one for 3 or 4 years until we joined we signed the Hague Convention. You need to also be mindful whether your adoption is recognized. Because there used to be a designated list for Commonwealth countries and other countries whose adoption, although not recognized under international law, but yet were allowed to bring children here through adoption. The other thing with surrogacy is disagreement. And I've put a lot of emphasis on independent legal advice. Now, of course, if you're taking independent legal advice, then both parties can say that we've both received competent independent legal advice, and therefore dispute resolution will be better and quicker. Just also remember that surrogacy agreements are unenforceable in the United Kingdom. They are unenforceable. So you cannot say that I agreed to carry your child for you to pay me $25,000 and you haven't paid me, so I'm going to enforce it. or I've agreed to carry a child for you, and now I don't want to hand over the child, and the other party says, I want to go to court because you signed this agreement. The court will make a decision, but the decision the court will make is purely in the interest of the child. So the court will decide that looking at this child, what is in the best interest of this child? And that's why we look at the welfare principle, the 11 principles that we have to look at. If the child can say something, the opinions of the child, what is in the best interests of the child, his development, his health, where should the child be, where has it lived, who has it got contact and emotional attachment to. These are things that the court will look at. With fostering, there are many people who want to become foster parents in our community who have not been approved for one reason or the other. Some may be very innocuous reasons, and some may be reasons which goes to character or unsuitability of accommodation. Normally, it's unsuitability of accommodation and also association. So you may have a partner who's got issues, and therefore becoming a foster parent, although you agree that a person is not going to be there, yet because a person is a partner, then they don't approve the fostering arrangement. So surrogacy agreement, and then adoption, the specific race of the child, and the cost involved in adoption. Unfortunately, the cost is so high because there's a UK element of it. The UK element, give and take, by the time you start and finish, including lawyer's fee, you're potentially looking at upwards of 5,000 to 10,000. The Ghana adoption is not that expensive, but the legal cost is also expensive. So again, there are issues. With surrogacy, you obviously reach financial agreement before the whole thing starts, although, as I've said, there should not be a commercial element in the agreement, and you can cover things like expenses, but anything you're giving should be reasonable cost. The definition of reasonable cost has been defined both by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court in England. And there are cases where the courts have said what is reasonable for one person may not be reasonable for the other person, depending on the age and complications that is involved in the pregnancy. That is what determines what the reasonableness of the expenses is.
Thank you. There's another question here. At what age can a surrogate child decide if they wish to return to their genetic mother rather than the surrogate mother or parent?
Well,
is there anything that bars them from saying, I've now realized you're not supposed to be my mother, and I'm going back to who he was?
Yeah, well, I smile because, first of all, the essence of transfer of parental parentage is because you're severing all connections between the surrogate mother or the biological parents of the child who's adopted from the child and giving it to a new couple. And therefore, although there's an adoption list in the UK where every child who's been adopted is on that list or ought to be on that list, and when you bring a child from outside, you also advise to put a child on that list, and they can go there eventually when they are older to find out who their birth parents are. If the child is I use the word child because it's your child, but if the person is an adult, clearly, even if your own biological child is an adult and he says, mommy or daddy, I don't want to have anything to do with you, there's absolutely nothing you can do. But whilst the child remains a child under 18, in certain circumstances in the UK, 16 years where the person is married or 17 years where the person is unmarried, they are classified as not children, and you cannot bring action against them or Private Children Act under Section 8, or even care proceedings under 31 or 45. You cannot bring action if the child is 16 and married or 17. Yet anything under that, you child is your child. If they come of age, 18, 19, 20, 21, and they say that I don't want to have anything to do with you, I want to go to where I think I came from, there's absolutely nothing you can do.
Right. Wow. That's a very key one, actually. Okay. So, for instance, if a child through surrogacy decide at some point I want to return to my parents, or is there a circumstance, has there been cases where a surrogate mother has all of a sudden turned around in the course of the child upbringing and said, I took a decision then, I was under X, Y, and Z influence, and therefore I didn't think I would have done it if I was today, and I want to rescind it. Has there been any court or legal contest in these areas that you are aware of? Because people obviously got to be mindful of the journeys they take and some of the consequences that will come along the way, as you said, up until at least 18. But in between the 18, the 0 to 18, have there been challenges around that area for some of the surrogate parents and the actual families that they do for them?
Well, what I'm aware of is through case law where surrogacy has failed, especially where the commissioning couple do not have any genetic connection to the surrogate mother. Yes, there are plenty. You can Google, plenty, some reported in the newspapers as well. In Ghana, unfortunately, there is this particular culture where people from poor home hand over their child or children to people they believe to be well off, to be brought up. Now, that's not surrogacy. That is not adoption. That is fostering. So that is a private arrangement between a parent who, for lack of means, they are not able to provide for their child. And then the child goes to live with a wealthy couple for 12, 15, 16 years. And then the person says, well, I want my child back. I'm sure you read about this popular musician, Nanekia. I think she's called Miss Bell, who has brought up a child for a woman from the age of, I think, 3 or 2. And the child is about 16 now, and the mother wants her child back. Now, that's not adoption. That is not surrogacy. That is pure fostering. So a caregiver or a foster carer who is temporarily replaced a caregiver, because a caregiver, as I defined initially, for things in her life or in his life, is not able to give care to the child. So you do get those things, but they are not in Ghana. They are not even customary adoption. So legally, you have no right, apart from saying that, oh, I've provided for your child and you're being ungrateful.
Right. Okay. One other question I have before we go for a quick break and then we come back to more is there a limit to how many children one can adopt or foster from Ghana as a family living here?
Okay. So the reason why the home study report is done is to have a comprehensive overview of who you are, your health, your means, your character, your background, and your association. So if you are capable of looking after 5 children, of course you can adopt. Right. Just be mindful that everything you're doing, you're not doing it on your own. There's oversight responsibility if it's in the UK by the UK government, oversight responsibility if it's in Ghana by the Ghanaian government. As I speak to you, we're dealing with a case where a couple who haven't had a child for 15 years have been blessed with surrogate children for a number, quadruplets.
Wow.
Now, it's very expensive, it's costly, because the parents have provided for the children because they wanted the children to have a bit of Ghanaian culture before they bring them. And the kids are just above 4 or 5, and they now want to bring them to the UK. But as you can see, 4 children at a time, there's no limit. They can bring the children because the man is well off, the woman is also comfortable. So by all means, they can provide, because under the immigration rules, they need to show that there's adequate maintenance and accommodation. And the definition of adequate maintenance is that by UK standard, if you pay your housing cost, each person should be able to live on the income support level, which is the minimum income that an individual is estimated to be able to live on reasonably enough. So if you don't have the means, in cases of surrogacy where the child is not a British citizen, the UK Financial Assessment and Immigration will consider whether you're able to provide for them. But if it's adoption, it will assess you whilst you're going through the home study report to determine whether you can provide for many children.
Okay, thank you. We'll take a second break again. We'll come back, we'll talk through the next program, and we'll come back to a few questions, and I'm sure we will be done for the evening if no more questions come through. So we will take a quick second.
Yeah, fair ma yewo London. Ya ji abasobodie bebre. Ne ya redare ewo mranse mu. Eye legal services, be to say family law, matrimonial law, immigration, dispute resolution, Ghanaian customary, any family law. What BWF yen solicitors edi enijie ene twitwaje wo na yebo nso nya den kra. Yen partner penin pa Bernardo Wusu aye lawyer ewo UK memu bebru mfie duonu nkron 29 years. BWF Solicitors kura won ho. Inti se ba na ebusuansem bi ti se child care eye abofrahwe mu awarugya ye ho twema mentwe ene ohye ana injunction ye de to domestic violence so a ye ma legal assistance ya edimu na ye adwuma so ye child care any family team no nimni awo famu eweni ye wo brei mu enu ntini ye to ye mboase ma wafutu a esefata ewo kokoa mu. Yen senior partner Ayobia Law Society Family Law Accreditation Panel Ajina Tumu no sanso ye member na kyerese eba no se ye gina wachi etwitwaje wo family any matrimonial cases ho a wonni haw kra.
There is a bill going through Ghana's parliament called LGBTQ++. I don't know how many plus. It's nothing to do with the UK, and I want to be specific. But as Ghanaians living in the diaspora, we have an interest in Ghana. We have parents there, we have family members there, we have children, siblings. And therefore, any law that goes through the Parliament of Ghana, we are somehow connected. And it's important that we understand, or at least be part of the debate. If not for changing the outcome, at least be aware of what is being discussed. And so we have the Honorable Sam George, who is sponsoring this private members bill to appear on this on the forum in 2 weeks from today and go through elements of the bill. A lot of us have seen some excerpts of interviews on CNN with BBC and other people and all the others. And I think we, the diaspora, deserve to understand his perspective and the perspective from human rights perspective, as others have also advocated. We also have a member of parliament from the UK who is also a Ghanaian, born here, but with Ghanaian parents, and obviously associates herself very much well with Ghana, and will also be here to share her views on the bill. Her name is Rabera Ade, MP for Streatham. We will also have representative of the customary route in the queen or the king from a traditional perspective, and we will look at if we could have some human rights lawyer or from religious concept so that we can give it a debate. It is not a politics debate. It's about understanding the bill from where we are, its impact on us and our families when it's passed, and how we can also help to make the voice on or around it where possible. We have a duty to our community here, and that is the topic for next 2 weeks. We will give you more details via the usual platforms that we do send you these ones, and please be prepared to join us and listen to it. Thank you very much. Thanks for the sponsorship from World Remit to keep this platform going. And thanks to IT Consortium for supporting us. With their help, we've been able to reach out to so many people and educating and informing and making people aware of the issues that surround our community here in the UK. We also want to thank High Commission for endorsing our work and thank all the partner group, Ghana Nurses Association, the Ghana Western Region Nurses Association UK, the Nightingale Association UK, and Omega Life for promoting the idea of community awareness forum, a one center approach to reaching out to the community here in the UK. We will come back to Bernard for a few more questions, and hopefully if there isn't any more, we will allow him to go and have an evening and a restful weekend, as it's been a long week already, I guess. Bernard, we've got Kweku with his hand up, BWTV. Kweku, please.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
I think you are muted, please.
Okay, let me unmute myself. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much and good evening. Lovely program. We're also very happy at BWTV to be associated with it. God bless you. Thank you. I've got just about 2 or 3 questions from our platform that I want to put across to Bernard.
Yes,
and
definitely.
The first one says, adoption is so expensive. How can we fight for the fees to come down?
Yes, adoption, as I said, is very expensive. And, if I advise about 20 people, only one person will proceed. And therefore, the fee element of the processes, it kills people's enthusiasm. What I can say, however, is that if you're habitually resident in Ghana, the cost is less. The cost is more in England because of the aspect of the intercountry adoption, which is a home study report. The eligibility certificate itself is 1,950. So that's not very expensive. But as the assessment report to be done by an agency or an independent social worker, which makes the cost very high.
All right. Now, the second question, Mr. Usu, is how old does a child have to be before he or she can be adopted?
You cannot adopt a child who is above 18. So my advice is that if the child is 17, just be mindful. You may start a process, and by the time you finish, the child is 18, and it will not work. The judge will not grant it. So my advice is make sure that you start early. Also, it's invariably important that we give opportunity to very, very, very young children, because what happens is that you bond better, you stimulate the child better, you're able to reform the child to your own environment, and it doesn't mean that you cannot adopt a teenager. You can adopt a teenager, but just be mindful that the process can drag on, especially the Ghana part, which is a court process.
All right. And my final one, Emmanuel, if you allow me, there's one that says, how much is it to adopt somebody in Ghana?
Well, the application fee, which I think is Form 12, that's not very expensive. The expense comes from the legal process, because as you all know, Ghanaian lawyers are one of the most expensive lawyers in the world. If you don't know, I'm telling you, Ghanaian lawyers are more expensive than lawyers in England. Really? And that's what people don't get their mind around. Ghanaian lawyers are very expensive because most of the things, like here, I can file my paper without stepping foot in court. They physically have to send a clerk to go to court and file. And some of the orders, they actually need to draft and send, although here we also draft orders and send to court. But everything is done remotely here. So the legal cost in Ghana is very expensive. Right. And that's what takes most of the adoption cost in Ghana.
All right, Emmanuel, thank you very much. Maybe I'll take this opportunity to announce that between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. tomorrow on the BWTV platform, live on BWF Solicitors Facebook and YouTube page, we'll be having Bernard again and another very interesting topic relating to Ghana. So I invite everybody to join us then.
Thank you very much, Kweku. Thank you. And thank you for your work with BWF throughout the community on your channels. We've been following, and I encourage everyone, please make use of the services. These are thankless jobs that we do to help the community. He comes in, he spends hours explaining things, and we should not be taking it for granted. We need to make use of it and support his work as we build one community here. Thank you, Kweku. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
No, I think there are questions in the chat. So
yes, I am. This is why I'm trying to get through it. Okay, I've got Irene to ask a question, then I will ask the chat room question. Irene, please, you've got your hand up.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm not sure if this is being covered because I was a little bit late. How old does one have to be to adopt a child in Ghana to the UK, please? Because I know somebody who wanted to adopt and they went through as far as, and then they told the person that they're too old or something like that. Is there an age limit?
Well, just with everything, just be mindful that the older you are, the more difficult it is, although the law doesn't prescribe an age limit. Upper age limit, there's a lower age limit of 25 or 21. You just be mindful that the older you become, the more difficult it is to bring up children, because it's not only the arrangement between you and the orphanage or your family, it's the court making sure that the best interest of the child rests with you. And that's why they may have said that, her age is, but the law doesn't really prescribe an upper age limit.
Thank you. Thank you. Someone has put a chart here. My brother and wife had an accident and died while traveling with their 10-month-old baby. The child is with Panama Authority. The child was born in Argentina. What is the process to adopt her? Thank you. So it's a multi-country sort of.
Yeah. I don't know Argentinian law or Panama law. I know English law. You can bring the child here and adopt the child here. There's a process for that. It's similar to going through an adoption from outside as well. And for me, that would be the best part. However, you can also get an Argentinian lawyer who can advise you. But if it's your sister's child and you want to do it quickly, you can file immediately, go through the process here, get a certificate of eligibility, and then bring the child here, and then you do the adoption in the UK courts.
Thank you. This is about an immigration, but as is there, I will ask. If you've applied for EU marriage visa, and you haven't heard from the Home Office for 5 months now, what do? Do you need to seek a lawyer advice or contact Home Office yourself? I mean, this is something more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, first of all, there are processes to expedite your application. If there's a particular urgent need for you to travel, you can send that need, either medical or bereavement in the family. Also, remember that EU applications do take time, and the service standard is about 6 months. Also, be mindful that if your application is not straightforward, and we know that we've been uploading documents since some time now, and you haven't uploaded all the documents, and they keep asking you for documents, you're not providing the documents, then of course that's going to delay your application. However, if you're certain that you've provided everything that you've been asked to provide, you've done your biometrics, you can first of all make a complaint to the Home Office complaint section. If that doesn't work, you can involve your MP and write to your MP to intervene on your behalf. He can then reach out to the Home Office minister, who will give a quick response, and that will expedite it. The other process is that you can go to the EU SS expedite process or resolution center online, and you can fill an expedition forms online and ask them to expedite it. You can also call them on their 0300 number, and they can expedite it through the call.
Bernard, there's something that has been going on in the community, and I've heard it over and over. Is it true that when the number of times you call home office, the more they put your application under the drawer or the list of whatever they have? Or apparently there's this, I don't know whether it's true, I can't justify it. But people keep telling me, oh, when you call home office, if your file is up, they will bring it down because you are disturbing them. Is it true?
It's absolutely not true. What my interaction with the Home Office over the last 29 years is that the more proactive you are, the more they listen to you. The more competent you are, the more they listen to you. The more they realize that you know what you're about, the more careful they are. We used to interact with them a lot. These days, you don't get to speak to the caseworkers, but a lot of them are working from home and they reach out to you by email. But please don't let anybody tell you funny stories. If you've got a matter with the Home Office and there's a service standard, you can always pull them up and say, you are not complying with your service standard. You're not complying with your own laws or your guidance notes. And for me, what we found is that to be able to deal with them, you need to know the law inside and out and be able to quote back their laws and procedures to them. That makes them sit up, and it comes with a lot of respect to you as well.
Thank you. So those who are listening, please pass it on. There's no crime calling the Home Office 10 times in a week if you think they are delayed. Right, okay. Bernard, you did mention about one's duty in surrogacy. If someone is going through an agreement and like you mentioned, you disappeared and then you turn up when the child is born, then there's a problem. But if you are very supportive, you are playing your role, do you really, is there a way, is there a requirement to document your involvement in that process to justify anything, or is it just by the agreement?
Well, there are many ways that I would advise you to follow. Keep all your receipts. The egg, you pay for it. The fertility clinic, you paid for it. When the woman was transferred from a small hospital or from the fertility clinic to Kolebu because of complications with childbirth, you paid for it. You may physically have gone to Ghana. Your passport will show that you arrived in Ghana. Your pictures will show that you are with a surrogate mother. It's always important that where someone is carrying your child, in this case, maybe a stranger, you must be involved from day one, from the day of conception to the day of birth. You don't leave it till last minute and then appear. That will obviously give clue to everyone that you may not be a good parent because you want to know what is happening to your child in someone else's womb. And for us, what we always do, and today, for example, there was an application that we were following up. We've got receipts to both fertility clinic and also Kolebu from 2013, showing the money transfers from this couple from the UK to Ghana to pay for medical treatment for the surrogate mother. Those are the things that will be helpful when it comes to making an application to bring the child here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We've got somebody called iPhone. And your hands is up. If your name is iPhone, please, please unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to, just a follow-up of the question I just asked and I was being answered. So after the 6 months and you still haven't heard from the Home Office, do you, contact your lawyer to get in touch with them, or you contact the Home Office by yourself?
Well, you can contact them by yourself. Ideally, you go through your lawyer. What I've realized with EU applications these days is that because the application is done online, and normally your address is put in there with your telephone number and sometimes with your email, they will normally communicate with you and even send your biometric card to your home. However, if you've paid someone to do your work, you can also ask them. I know that lawyers will have milestone times to reach out to the Home Office. And these are things that you must be mindful. Because the lawyer deals with them on a regular basis, he knows how often these things are done. There was a time that these applications are approved within minutes, and then it became hours and days and weeks and months. And we know there are people who are waiting several months. But if you've done everything by the book, you should go on the EU Resolution Center, fill the forms and raise expedition process and ask them to expedite the process so that your application could be considered.
Thank you. Bernard, I've got one question here, and then if I will look through any other chat room before we round up. Is there an expected level of income for anyone to be on before they are allowed to either adopt or go through bringing somebody on fostering basis?
Well, I mean, just be mindful.
Or is there any type of job or skill type of category you have to belong? There's so many categories here sometimes.
There's no particular skill or type of job or type of professional career, but you need to be earning enough to provide for you and the new addition to your family.
Right, so that's quite clear. Thank you very much. Let me look at the chat room. Okay, so if you have any question, is the next 1 minute, please raise it on chat room, or let us have it by raising your hand before we round up for the evening. I'll ask the last one I have here. It says, is a surrogacy, adoption, or fostering agreement from Ghana legally binding in the UK? So if the agreement is drafted in Ghana and you bring it here, I did hear you say that they are not enforceable, but on which territory are they not enforceable?
Under English law, surrogacy agreement is not enforceable. It doesn't mean that when you go to court, they will not enforce it. In the same way that prenuptial agreements are not enforceable, it doesn't mean that when you go to court with prenuptial agreement, it will not be enforced. What I said is that when the court comes to enforcing a surrogacy agreement, their only interest is the child. And anything that will help the child, if it means that the child remains with the surrogate mother, they will order that. If it means that the child is transferred to the commissioning couple, they will order that. In Ghana, there is no defined process of going through surrogacy. In England, there is. In Ghana, there is not. But my experience is that the practice in Ghana has adopted the English practice, which is that they do a pre-commissioning consent and contract, they do a commissioning contract, and then they do a handover contract before they apply for the parentage order in court. Now, the Birth and Death Act has brought in a requirement for you to do a pre-birth parentage order if you want to be recognized as a parent through surrogacy. And the pre-birth order is basically to recognize you, the commissioning couple, as the mother and father of the child, even though the child is a few months old in the womb.
Thank you. This man that I asked the question about their child in Ghana has come again. What is the longest I have to be able to get my child to attain my status here?
The longest to get their child to come to the UK?
No. From the time of birth, what is the time frame that you need to do this before?
Okay. So first of all, there's certain timelines in this process. First of all, once the child is born, you're given about 6 weeks to 7 weeks for the mother to have some relationship with the child, and then they can sign over their consent for you to have the child, and then you make your application to the Ghanaian court for the parentage order, and then you bring the child. So in there's no time limits. The time limit is between you and a surrogate mother for now under the birth and death registry to do the pre-birth order at the High Court. Yes. And then once the child is born, within a few weeks, it should not be earlier than 6 weeks, you get a consent and then authority transfer to you, and then you can apply.
Yes, thank you. I think I didn't quite explain that. That's a good one for those who wanted the answer for that. But I think this is about the man that said he went to Ghana and had a child out of marriage and he's a British.
Yeah.
You want to know how long does he have before he can apply for his daughter to be a British without necessarily bringing the daughter here?
So first of all, you're not applying for your child to be British. Your daughter is British and Ghanaian.
Right.
The Ghanaian constitution allows dual nationality. The British have an unwritten constitution, but it's inherent that it also allows multiple nationalities. That is why Boris Johnson is both American and English. I think he's also Turkish as well. But once your child is British, your child is always British. There's no time limit. But now that you are alive, it will be easier for her to prove that she is British. Because when you come to applying for British passports and the child is overseas, I can tell you that they would drag every skeleton in your life out. We've dealt with some pretty complicated situations. And even where it's a man and a wife, and there's clear evidence from birth till now, the children, some of the children are 13 years. The passport office are still asking for very innocuous documents and evidence of when the child was born. Were you there? Show me the adoring pictures. And that is why I would advise you that apply for her first passport for her now. You can leave it to expire. At least once she's got it, she can always renew it when she's older. Because if you're not there, we're dealing with one who went to Ghana and he was murdered, or he's got children with a woman in Ghana, 3 children, and we're representing the children and their mother. And it can be pretty difficult because the Home Office cannot order you to undergo DNA. And most of the questions they ask, you can tell that they want to tell you that we don't believe that you're the father of these children.
Right.
And it is therefore important that whilst you are alive, make a passport application for her so that at least she's got it now and it can be renewed anytime.
Right. Do they occasionally compel somebody to do DNA just to clear their own process, or
No,
it's not part?
Nobody can compel you to do a DNA to prove that someone is your child.
Right.
Sometimes the questions are such that you can see where the questions are.
From.
Yes,
right.
You can see where the thinking is going. And therefore, you can say, you know what? I think you don't believe me. This is the DNA. If you're doing a DNA, you need to use Ministries of Justice, MOJ recommended DNA provider. And for us, we use a Ghanaian company called Anglia DNA. And I think, Mr. Kwesi, you know Dr. Hazel.
Yes.
Anglia DNA, that is the only DNA company that we use for all the things that we do.
Right. Okay. May I say that the audience, please, BWF Solicitors is located at Seven Sisters, right at Seven Sisters Station. You wouldn't have to walk any further than just around the corner as you come out of the station. Make use of BWF Solicitors. They are very good. I have engaged them, supported families who are in dire situation. Bernard himself is a man of repute. He does his work with distinction, and his team of solicitors do the same. Please make use of them, support the work they do, and if you go there, don't take their goodwill for granted, please, because I know our people, sometimes we know you are my brother, you are my brother. No, just go there, say what you need, and ask them to help you, but also be prepared to chip in, because legal things cost money. And you know, I'm sure Bernard will understand things if that is the case. On that note, Bernard, if you have any closing remarks, please do, and then we'll bring this session to an end.
This is what I would say to everyone, that it is no longer necessary or a requirement for you to suffer in silence because you haven't got a child of your own. Ladies and gentlemen, mother, father, can we let our people know that children are the gift of God, and that if God is giving you a child, is gifting you a child through another woman, it doesn't mean that you've committed an abomination. I know that our mothers and fathers do not understand surrogacy because some of them conceive surrogacy as your husband going to sleep with another woman. But surrogacy is a process which does not require contact between the commissioning couple and the surrogate mother. It is done remotely, where the necessary biological materials are taken from the bodies of each other, fertilized and implanted. Don't suffer in silence. I believe that praying to God may be a solution. The solution is also in surrogacy. Don't give up your right to have surrogacy or adoption. If it's the case that you didn't like adoption because you don't know the background of the child, this is an opportunity for you where your husband, who is fertile, can fertilize someone else's egg, or where you have egg but are unable to carry a pregnancy to full term, your egg and your husband's sperm can be fertilized and implanted in a family member, in a friend, or in a total stranger. You have to decide who can carry your baby. Don't cry in silence. This is an opportunity for you.
Thank you so much, Bernard. It's been a pleasure having you. As always, you don't cease to surprise me with all the good knowledge that you have. So I was very comfortable having you on the show. We've engaged you in various contests and you've always delivered. Thank you. My audience are grateful. The Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum is grateful. On behalf of the Ghana Nurses Association UK, the Western Region Nurses Association UK, the Nightingale Ghanaian Nurses UK, and our sponsors, World Remit and IT Consortium. Also mentioning the key people behind this team, the IT people, Paul and Linda, and we have Lillian, who couldn't join us today for other reasons. And on my own behalf, the Ghana Union wish to thank all of you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again. Bernard, thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise, and we wish you a very good weekend.
Thank you, Paul and Linda, and again, good evening to all our listeners and our fellow panelists today. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night. Good night, everyone.